Good afternoon. This is the optional review for Knox County Commission on December 9th, 2024. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Commissioner Rawls.
Present.
Commissioner Durrett. Here. Commissioner Oster.
Here.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Russell. Here. Commissioner Hill. Here. Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Thompson. Commissioner Fox. Here. Commissioner Jay. Here. Commissioner Frazier.
Present.
Thank you. Just want to remind that commissioners, this is where you can pull items for discussion, but there are no votes taken. So if you want to look over your agenda and let me know what items you would like to pull for discussion, please. If you do have any items you want pulled, if you will just turn your light on and let me know, that would be great. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item number 33, I'll just be happy to explain that to fellow commissioners. I would love to see if everybody would consider being a co-sponsor, so when the time is right.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fox, do you still have those that you're wanting pulled?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Yes.
So what I have got is 25, 26, 32, 33, 35, 36, and 41. And I'll do that one more time. 25, 26, 32, 33, 35, 36, and 41.
Madam Chair, I'm not interested in discussing number 36. That doesn't seem familiar to me. Were you listing ones that you thought I might be interested in discussing, or?
I was going off of your email that you sent me, and I thought that it had 36 on there.
Well, some of these have been renumbered from the original list that was provided on Wednesday, right before Thanksgiving.
Okay, so you'll let me know which ones on the new numbers.
Yes.
That you want pulled.
Yes, thank you. I had pulled 30, I believe 29 is what it is now. I had pulled 18 and 19. $25. I believe that's it. And just to key in on what I'd originally noted were grants that were to be received from the federal government. I'm not interested in discussing grants that are purely receiving, from what I can tell from the description. Tennessee state funds, but instead I'm looking to pull items that involve federal grants for discussion and/or I don't want them to be a part of the government consent calendar. And then, of course, the 30, the RETA, and then I did want to discuss the receipt of the tract of land in South Knox County near Dry Hollow.
What number is that? 25? Okay.
Yeah.
And you did not, did you decide you didn't want to pull 34 with trustee Biggs?
Okay,
Because I believe I see trustee Biggs sitting in the audience, so if you have any questions.
yeah, this is a more detailed statement of what that particular item was than had it been originally listed. I'm still interested in just knowing more about it. Because it didn't have any description at the time that your original agenda was released. So yes, I would like to just have an opportunity to review it.
Okay. So let me make sure that I've got all the ones, 18, 19, 25, 29, 30, 33, and 34.
Mm-hmm.
18, 19, 25, 29, 30, 33, and 34.
You know, I'm not seeking to discuss item 33 either.
That's Commissioner Jay.
Okay.
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to, if it's okay with the sponsors, sign on as co-sponsor to 36 and 37, please.
Drew, if we can add Commissioner Jay to number 36 and 37. All right. We will start on item number 18. And this is yours, Commissioner Fox, so you've got the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, as I stated at my presentation last month, I am going to oppose any grant that seeks to obtain funds from the federal government because the federal government is literally borrowing money to give to us at this time, and I don't believe that we should, you're either going to be a part of the problem or not a part of the problem. And if you're taking money that they're borrowing to give to you, then you're part of the problem. That's my perspective. So I don't want to be a part of the problem. And just because money is appropriated doesn't mean that it has to be spent. And in fact, there's money that was appropriated a number of years ago, by my understanding, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic that hasn't been spent yet, is still available. And that just shows you that just because it's been appropriated doesn't mean it's been spent. And I don't think we should spend it because we have a $36 trillion debt, and I don't think that Knox County should be a part of the problem. So that's my perspective, and just in the future, you can expect that I will pull every item that involves a grant from the federal government, and I will, because I want to have a vote, I want my vote on the record to be no. Now, in addition, it's come to my attention that in the past year, there were additions to the regulations to receive a grant from the federal government, which was part of the reason that our written statement of standards was changed, that if you are a third party receiving grant funds in the charitable arena, that you're specifically prohibited from proselytizing your Christian faith as a condition to receive grant money from the federal government. And I think that's discrimination based upon religious expression. I don't think that's right either. But primarily, my first objection to receiving grant funds is that the federal government is not returning money to our pockets, but is instead, or in other words, it's not taking tax revenue and giving it back to us. It's going out and borrowing tax revenue from future generations to give to us, and that's why I oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Holden, are you here? I just had a quick question. And I may be incorrect in this statement, but the funds that we're referencing, the federal funds, those dollars have already been appropriated by the federal government, correct? Meaning that should Knox County not accept them, they will not go back to address our federal debt. They will, in fact, go to another county or municipality because those funds have already been appropriated.
Jenny Holden, 400 West Main Street. For the most part, yes. I couldn't speak to every federal grant, particularly number 18 that we're talking about right now. These are state pass-through, so it is federal money passed through to us from the state. If we did not take these grant funds, they would absolutely go to another county here in Tennessee.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question on 18? Commissioner Rawls?
Yeah, Ms. Holden, thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Holden, just a question on how your department works. How much of your budget is county money?
My
Like,
personnel budget, Commissioner?
yes, ma'am.
About 38% is covered by the county. The rest it's grant funded.
So these federal grants support about 72%?
The broadband grant, actually, we don't get any funds from because that's a program that it all goes to community support. But typically, our grants, if you look at the funding that we're managing right now, overall, about 1.9% of the grant funds come back to support personnel within the department. Yes, sir.
Personnel, okay. All right, thank you.
Well,
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Holden. I do have a question. Commissioner Fox, I understand where you're coming from. The federal government's in debt. I think we all know it, and I appreciate that. The issue that I have, and when you did your presentation last week, I had Ms. Holden pull, and she sent to everybody a list of some of the things that had been done, and I have one particular one that sticks out in my head in my district, that it was an elderly lady who was going through chemo treatments who could not afford to do some of the improvements that she needed to do to get in and out of her home. And Ms. Holden's group, along with some of the federal dollars, were able to go and put a ramp into my very elderly client's or constituent's house. And I'll be honest with you, that meant the world to her. Otherwise, she wouldn't have had that opportunity. So I understand the concept of it. I certainly do. But these monies are going to be used regardless whether we take it. And we're looking at millions of dollars that we're able to help our constituents in each one of our districts. And that's just one in mine. I mean, I had quite a few, and you probably did too. Where do you suggest that we get this money from the county to do the stuff that needs to be done for our elderly and our veterans? And
Well, I would return the question to you. Do you think these are worthwhile endeavors for government money in the first place?
I think if we can help one of our constituents who's paid into the tax base in Knox County for 30 years to be able to help her get a ramp to get in and out of her house, I think it's definitely worthwhile.
So then we should be applying Knox County dollars. I don't necessarily agree. I think that if it is something like that, we ought to look at funding by charitable organizations and churches, which were the original providers of this kind of help, rather than turning to the government. Because, well, let me ask you, you believe it's the right thing to do to help people in this manner, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to legislate your morality and force other third parties, other taxpayers, to spend their money on what you believe should be a moral priority. I don't believe that. I believe that if people believe it's a moral priority, they ought to consider using their own funds. But if there is a consensus that government funds should be used for these types of charitable endeavors, then Knox County itself ought to be willing to do it rather than taking money from an already effectively insolvent government entity that's printing dollars in order to keep up with and borrowing from future generations in order to keep up with its obligations, which, if you actually take all the obligations it has that are currently authorized but not yet funded, it's over $250 trillion. Just for the edification of those who aren't following what I'm saying, the $36 trillion debt is like a credit card. That's what the federal government has already spent. You've already spent it. You've already incurred the debt. The $250 trillion is kind of equivalent to a mortgage. Like you said, okay, we're going to spend money in the future, and these are Social Security, future Social Security expenditures and Medicaid expenditures and so forth. And the problem has got to stop, and it actually is going to affect people right now. It is already affecting people right now. That's why the rate of inflation is so high. And I was listening to a program the other day. If you take into account the effect inflation's had on the economy for the United States has actually contracted since 2019. The cumulative amount of inflation is 40%, and that's why people are having a hard time making ends meet, because inflation has gone up so high, and that's because the government is making dollars expensive through its its profligate spending. And there are many, many good reasons to spend money, but at some point you have to say, we just can't afford this. We can't afford this as a country, and that's the point I'm at. I say we can't afford to do these nice gestures that assist people. But again, if you think government funds should be used, then we should use Knox County government funds for that type of endeavor.
Commissioner Jackson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a fascinating argument. Somebody who took economics, I find it very interesting. The one thing that I would caution my other commissioners is that we are not the federal government. We are not voting on a monthly basis on the federal debt. We're not voting on the federal budget. What we are voting on is providing services to our community and providing things, and we get those services through accessing federal grants. Now, if we're going to have a moral line in the sand and say, hey, we're not going to accept any funds that come from the federal government, well, where does that end? Does that end with free and reduced lunches? Federal government provides us funding for our education. Federal government provides highway funding and state and local funding for roads, infrastructure projects. Where does this end? I would caution my fellow commissioners against voting against anything that comes from the federal government, because our position here is to represent our citizens and to represent our constituents and to improve our community. And we improve our community both through local funding and through federal grants.
Thank you. Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to point out that highway expenditures are user-funded. In other words, there are taxes on gas that are used to fund highway expenditures. But again, somebody's got to be some entity has to be the entity that says, you know what, we're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to be a part of the problem. We're not going to take this monopoly money that's just being printed through the purchase of treasuries. And then if Knox County were to be a leader in that might result in other counties saying, hey, look at that. They're thinking about the future. They're thinking about the long-term impact of just of business as usual for decades and decades and decades that have created a $36 trillion debt. They might start saying, we're not going to do that either. And who knows? Maybe you start a trend. Maybe you lead people in the proper direction. But that can't start unless one entity says no more. And so I would like Knox County to be that, and my vote is going to continue to reflect that. Thank you.
Thank you. And let me also say, you're welcome to pull these items. Commissioner Fox, I think everybody knows where you stand, but honestly, you can just vote no, and you'll be on the record to vote no against them when they come up. So either way, you time-wise for you, if you want to do it that way, just know that you can vote no, and it's going to be recorded. Commissioner Hill?
Thank you. This question is for either Ms. Holden or perhaps Chris Caldwell. Well, can either one of you give me the total number of federal dollars that we actually take from the federal government every year that is used to maintain our county?
From our single audit, our most recent single audit that we received in 2023, the total was $109,245,000. So that was our 2023, FY23 single audit. And that includes departments all throughout the county, including schools.
Thank you. So over 20% of our total budget is federal monies, is that correct?
Yeah, so we don't budget, we don't show a budget for grants. So we do those as they come along.
In addition
So-
to.
Correct. And so our $1 billion budget that you all approve every year would be on top of that.
Thank you. Mr. Fox, I'm making the assumption that you probably, like everyone else up here, pay your federal income tax?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I asked that because I'm thinking then with the attitude that is presented, which I certainly understand the argument there, then I pay taxes too. And I am thinking that if there's any part of those taxes that I can get to circle around to help me and my community, as opposed to refusing to take all of it, that I would feel better about paying my own taxes. So your stance sounds like you're going to continue to pay into the federal government, but you, at this point in time, are expecting nothing back.
Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, as I pointed out in last month's presentation, the money we're paying into the federal government is being spent to the last penny on Social Security, major Medicare, and Medicaid.
Defense budget,
Defense
I
and
understand
interest.
that.
So after
Yeah.
that, it's not my tax dollars anymore. It's my tax dollars from 20 years from now, and my kids' tax dollars from 20 years from now, and grandkids' tax dollars, if we make it that far. I mean, there's concern that, of course, now we're paying $1 trillion, more than the defense budget, in interest debt service, because people for decades have been using the mindset that you all are advocating. And
So to be clear, the answer is yes, you're good that all your federal tax money, that it does not come to benefit Knox County directly.
It does benefit Knox County directly because Knox County citizens receive Social Security, they receive Medicare, so it does benefit Knox County. Knox County receives the benefit of a defense, the national defense, so we do benefit. But look, I've already come to the conclusion that I'm not even going to get the benefits for Social Security that I've been promised for over 30 years of working, because the Social Security Trust Fund is going to be insolvent. And I've received letters at Gen Xer that I'm probably only going to get 75% of my benefits, if that. So yeah, I'm going to have to pay, and I have been paying into the system for many years because people have not been prudent with spending, and they believe that the federal government was just a big money tree that you can shake and raise dollars. And that time is coming to a close, and it can come to a close if the country works together to bring that to a close. The impact can be much less disastrous than as they say, if something can't keep going on, it won't. And then you're like Greece, which had to enter austerity measures probably a decade ago, because Greece wasn't the reserve currency for the world. Of course, we know that there are a number of
we are.
nations who are looking at removing the dollar as the reserve currency, and that could have a major impact on the U.S. finances. So the future is uncertain, and I would like for it to be the landing would be as soft as possible.
Madam Chair, can we, I'm just looking at the time, we have beer board at 4, we haven't even touched most of the items. Can we keep going with the agenda review, and if we have time, come back, or
We can't, we don't
have
have.
a bigger
we don't have-
discussion at the finance committee? or-
Yes, sir, but we don't have beer board today. Thank you,
Well, I
Commi-
just have one more question then. So
Okay.
this 109 million, you are proposing that it be taken up solely through social services and philanthropy of the people?
I'm not
I'm
saying that
asking.
I don't necessarily agree that government should be as I stated, government should be the provider of all these social programs.
No, that's what I
Yeah.
said. The philanthropy of the people then is where this 109 million every year should come from. Is that correct?
Possibly. I mean, we need to look at it if you want to go through a line item by line item budget. But yeah, government's role is not to be transfer of wealth from one set of people to another. That's not the job of government.
And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm asking you, this $109 million that is very, at least in most people's opinion, fairly wisely spent in Knox County government, because we are a very frugal entity, that this $109 million somehow needs to be absorbed by the goodness and generous people of Knox County.
I'm not going to accept your binary, okay?
But you
it-
get my point.
I get your point
Thank
that
you.
we should not borrow money, or what my response to it is, we should not be borrowing money from the federal government when the federal government or getting money from the federal government when they're just merely going out and borrowing it. So if we think these are worthwhile endeavors, then maybe we need to have a tax increase
Okay.
at the Knox County level.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Holden, I have a question for you. Just a quick question. When you said the money would be distributed to other counties, is that, how did you get that answer? Was it stated that?
Because it's state broadband money. Many of you will remember that we had a broadband ordinance that we had to pass back in February to qualify for this grant funding. So it's going to be distributed statewide either way. We just wanted to go ahead and put Knox County in, and we received the 100,000. But yes, they were planning on distributing that money, the entire pot of money. So
The
whether we
109 million is what we're talking about?
No. That
Okay.
109 million is a completely separate figure of federal grants that came into Knox County. The broadband grant that we were talking of, number 18 specific,
Okay.
that one is state pass-through money.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Ms. Holden, you may want to hold out right there because Commissioner Fox may have another one. 19 is what we're looking at now. Commissioner Fox?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Yes, again, I just want to reiterate my previous statement, that's all, that it applies across the board to any of these federally based grants.
Okay. 25,
I do have some questions on that, Madam Chair.
okay. Floor is yours.
I had given notice to Director Mack and Director Snowden.
Director Mack, and I thought I saw Director Snowden, yes.
Hi, Director Mack. Once these, once these two parcels are received by Knox County Parks, what is the next step to them being open to the public? Or are they open to the public as soon as we acknowledge the receipt of this particular donation?
So it depends. One property is already a park. It's already been developed. A dog park's already been built on it. There's playground and playground equipment on one parcel. The other parcel is just currently land. And right now, the next step for that property would be to get public input on what the people that live in that area of the county would like to see done with the property.
How many acres is this?
The one that's already a park is 13.58 acres, and the other is 107. That isn't developed yet.
Okay. Yeah. 107. Yeah. I mean, are Knox County citizens able to go onto that land at this time, or is it prohibited? What's the status?
So right now, it's not really considered park property. It is, or a park, but it is park property. So it's Knox County property. We really don't encourage people to go on undeveloped property until it's an actual park where there's some services, and we make sure that it's, from a liability standpoint, it's safe to go on the property, so.
Is there a timeline for when it might be open to the public in the sense that you're discussing?
The 107 acre property,
Yes.
the timeline would actually start once we had the public engagement again and then determine what would go on the property, because then there would be a funding piece and how we would go about funding it, and then that timeline would be established after that. So we're a little ahead of that right now.
Okay. At this time, though, it's considered public land and,
Right, it's owned by Knox County. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
is there like an overarching policy that controls public land owned by Knox County that folks get, like on an internet site or something, they can look at and say, okay, here are the constraints for entering on this piece of property?
As in what can be put on the property?
No, is what, can you be there after dark? Can you start a fire? Things of that nature.
So yes, there is, we have ordinances and of course, park rules. But again, this particular piece of property is not a park yet. It is just a piece of Knox County property.
Okay.
So there are
Thank you.
some restrictions that come with that are different from parks.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome.
Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just out of curiosity, because I'm not familiar with this piece of property, but the 107 acres, about how much of that property is usable or has potential for use?
So all of it is usable. Like there's about 87 or so acres that really would be best suited as a natural hiking area, maybe even an equestrian area. And there's 20 acres that is relatively flat that we looked at possibly replacing the existing ball fields that are in place now. And when the previous property, or the current property owner for where the ball fields is now, before they start to do their development where the ball fields are now, we would like to have those ball fields completed.
Okay. And then on just the scope of the other parks that are in Knox County, that 107 acres, where does that, are there other, do we have other parks that are comparable in size
We
to
do.
that?
We have
Okay.
several parks, and we have some that are 167 acres, we have some that are 127 acres. We have several large pieces of property that are over 100 acres.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Director Mack.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Russell?
Just out of curiosity, because being an accountant and also an appraiser, how is the value set on the property that's being received? Because I noticed that it was purchased in '21 as part of a large group parcel purchase for $1.65 million, but this particular piece, which is probably the more unusable piece of the parcels that were purchased, since there's only about 20 to 25 acres that are actually flat and could be used for any type of development or anything, what is being recorded at 3.2 million. How was that number, just out of curiosity, because I'm a numbers girl?
Well, I wasn't a part of the appraisal process, ma'am. That was done prior to the donation of the property.
So was it, but I mean, I guess I'm trying to get an understanding of the whole process and how it works, because I just found that very, very interesting.
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I sat on the board of the Legacy Parks Foundation, and what happens when a piece of land is donated to Legacy Parks Foundation is they do an appraisal, they do a survey, they do an appraisal, and they issue that appraisal when the donation occurs to them as a nonprofit organization. And so they hold that on their books as a particular value, and that appraisal is done by a land appraiser, a professional land appraiser. So if you were to donate a 20-acre parcel of property to that nonprofit, just like if you were to donate your car to, Joy Music School as a nonprofit, there is a value placed on that, and you have that value when you make the donation to the organization. And then at some point, Legacy Parks Foundation serves as an organization that goes out and seeks opportunities to build an inventory of public land and public space. It accepts that, gives the tax donation, and then at some point they deed that over to Knox County, and it sort of comes with the package. But that's done with that private entity, which is a nonprofit organization, and a private appraisal on the front end.
So are those appraisals public information?
They are a public charity, so I would imagine so. You probably just have to contact the Legacy Parks Foundation and ask for that information.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know the answer specifically, but I would guess as a public charity, all their information is public.
Well, I just didn't know if Knox County received a copy of it as part of the process.
I'm not sure of the answer to that.
Like I said, I'm a numbers girl. It just interests me.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Director Mack.
thank you.
Next item is number 29. Commissioner Fox, this is yours if you want to.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, this same objection. This is, I think, the American Rescue Plan Act represents the very COVID funds that I was speaking about that were appropriated some time ago. And like the other federal funds that I object to, I don't think that we should be accepting federal funds when the federal government itself is not returning our tax dollars to us, but is borrowing money to give to us. Thank you.
Okay. Number 30. This one's also yours.
Well, I have not, it was my intention to be able to discuss that today, Madam Chair, but we didn't get the policy till late on Friday, and so I've not had an opportunity to review the policy at this time.
Okay, Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wanted to let the body know that I have scheduled a meeting with Mr. Mamatoff and also county staff for Friday at 2:30. You are welcome to join me. This is just so that I could ask more specific questions and have a more fluid dialogue based on the different sections of the proposed policy. I felt like that would be a better kind of forum to have those discussions and ask questions and get a better understanding for some of the things that I have questions with. So I think it's going to be in the commission conference room. We were checking on the availability, but I would love for you all to join me.
And if they can't make it, I would say, is Mr. Mamontoff planning on being here next Monday?
He is.
Okay, so the questions can be answered. Next item is 33, Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a resolution that is in support of a statewide initiative initiated through our Tennessee County Commissioners Association. And they have been working with lots of counties across the state to pass similar resolutions. I would encourage the entire commission to sign on as a sponsor. It is to show our unified support. For the short description of it is that the state of Tennessee, every time that there is a real estate transaction, they impose a tax of 37 cents for every $100 of value. And that is for the well, I'll read it directly, has imposed 37 cents per 100 of value for the privilege of publicly recording documents evidencing all transfers of realty, whether by deed, court deed, decree, partition deed, or other instrument evidencing transfer of any interest in real estate. That is collected locally, but it is sent to the state, and no part of that is shared. So this is a resolution supporting an effort to get all of the counties to say, State of Tennessee, we would like for you to share part of that back to the people who originated the real estate transfer tax, the people of Knox County, and to ask if they would support transferring half of it back to us so that we could have more revenue and less opportunity to have to find it in other places. So that's, happy to answer any questions, but that's the short of it.
Perfect. Great explanation. Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to join in that resolution.
Okay. Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Same, I would like to
Okay.
also be added.
Commissioner Russell?
I also would like to be added.
Okay. And Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we just need to do a roll call of who wants to be added to this?
Yeah, we could,
It's just,
yeah, we,
Because I
I would
too would
assume
like to be
all.
added,
yeah,
please.
yeah, let's just, yeah. If, you'll just start with District 1, please.
Commissioner Rawls.
Aye.
Commissioner Durrett.
I'm on it already.
This is just to see if you want to.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, Commissioner Oster, you're already on it. Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Lee. Commissioner Thompson, yes. Commissioner Fox.
Yes, please add me. Maybe it'll generate $109 million.
And Commissioner Jay, you're already a sponsor, and Commissioner Frazier.
Commissioner Durrett?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I sit on our County Commission Association Board as well as the County Services Association Board, and I can tell you that as of last week, prior to Thanksgiving, there are multiple counties in East Tennessee that have approved it. I actually spoke with Mayor Johnson of Blount County, and they approved it last month. So this is something that's really going to be pushed very quickly, I think, to get ahead of our legislative session. And I pulled up our, it looks like if we were to get 50% of what we received in fiscal year '24, we may be receiving back, let's see, in fiscal year '24, we paid out $25 million, if I'm reading this correctly, and so we could potentially get almost 11 back.
That's huge. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Are you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just making sure. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will, Commissioner Durrett and I are focused a lot on legislative affairs and what's going through, so we'll report back to you as the bill progresses, and hopefully it'll likely have to be part of the budget, so we may not know until the very last hour, but this is one of the a number of things that we'll kind of pay attention to this
Great,
year.
thank you. And thank you both for staying on top of that. If Trustee Biggs would come forward, please. And we're on item number 34, and this is also the one that you pulled, Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Trustee Biggs, if you could just give a brief overview of the program you're proposing.
Justin Biggs, Knox County Trustee, 400 West Main Street, Suite 427 for the record. First off, I'd like to thank Commissioner Oster, Frazier, and Jay for signing on to this as co-sponsors. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to our community. This is a program that was designed many, many moons ago. It's called the Tax Relief as well as the Disabled Veterans Program for widowers and widows. Historically, over the past few years, we have had a lower population in the state of Tennessee, resulting in us being able to fully fund the program. Since the population has risen, unfortunately, the funds that were allocated for the Tax Relief and Disabled Veterans Program have been drawn down on. What's happened over time is the benefit has decreased. Since 2020, it's went from elderly's getting $135 now to $89. It's went from our veterans and widows getting $814 to $487. This program decreased this year 30% alone, just this year. So what do you do when it's the difference between medicine, Christmas presents, transportation, maybe going delinquent on your property taxes and losing your home altogether? You sit back and you start calling your Knox County trustee when you get your tax bill. And there's been a lot of tears shed, a lot of constituents upset. There's been a lot of people coming to our offices, coming to our satellite offices. One of the things we're hearing right now is this was double when I started this, and now we're down to $89. And while they're thankful and grateful, it's nothing compared to what it used to be. So my team and I sat back and we started thinking about an opportunity to fix the problem. After many talks with our delegation, the Speaker of the House, and multiple representatives across the state of Tennessee, we got with Jim Bryson, who has asked Governor Lee to fully fund this program, which is about $18 million short. So as of today, moving forward, if this does not get past Jim Bryson's efforts, it's going to be a first-come, first-serve initiative, which means every single one of your constituents that files for this program, if it's not done in a timely manner, not on my team's behalf, but on your constituents' behalf, will be denied the funding if it doesn't get placed in time. Zero. No money. I wish I could tell you that there's 94 counties that have answers, but there is one, and it is Knox County, and it is us. So I've gone to our delegation, I've put in 7,000 notes to all of our tax freeze, tax relief, and disabled veterans members and constituents across our county. I've put every single person's number and email from the delegation in every single one of their tax statements. I believe if you had any of our representatives from the great state of Tennessee up here right now, they would tell you their phone lines have been ringing off the hook. After talking to some of the commissioners here on this board, there are people that have issues with it. So what's the answer? The answer is an up to 5% administrative fee on all delinquencies. Now, what's that mean? That means we're never going to collect 100% property taxes. Director Caldwell would probably be very happy if we did, but it's not going to happen. You're always going to have delinquency. During my time in office, when I came in, there was 14,000 pieces of delinquent property. Now there's 7,000, so I've knocked it down quite a bit. That's due to tax sales, that's due to input from the community, blighted properties, and things of that nature. So that number may not be as large as it used to be, but what does that mean for us moving forward? It means we have 4,694 claims with tax relief for disabled veterans program. That means we got decreased by over $350,000. $350,000. The total number is $353,664.90. That's the exact dollar amount. So as we try to find a remedy to this situation, we look at the 7,040 delinquent parcels in Knox County, Tennessee. An up to 5% fee would generate $514,342.80. That's what that would generate. We're not going to get a 100% collection rating. So about half. I'm happy with half. It doesn't get me to where I need to be, but it's a great starting point. So what's that mean for you guys? This is a resolution, me not really asking you for anything. This is me asking for your correspondence. This is me saying, hey, I know that you probably have people out in your community. I know you have people that are saying, hey, this is very worrisome to me. I'm going to the state of Tennessee with or without this resolution. I'm willing to fight for my disabled veterans. I'm willing to fight for my elderly low income. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Now, I was on the County Officials Association of Tennessee Board, where we do oversee every single trustee's office in the state of Tennessee. And they know this legislation's coming. And they know this legislation's coming from Knoxville, Tennessee. And I've not seen one trustee say no. Every single one of them has said yes. What's that mean for me? That means I get to go to the state of Tennessee, and I'll probably end up testifying before Senate subcommittee, House subcommittees, things of that nature. But it's what I'm willing to do because I think the people of Knox County and our constituents need it. This is me offering you guys an opportunity to say, yes, there's a problem with the state of Tennessee. Yes, we hope that it's going to be fully funded, but let's not count on that. Let's not count on that. This is an opportunity for us to get it back whole to where it used to be. Even if it is fully funded, they're not going to get back the money that they miss. This is an opportunity for us to put that money back that they are going to miss, to put those dollars back where they're going to be. So you might say, why do this, right? Other counties across the state match tax relief and match disabled veterans funding, a large amount. But they also have a budget allocation for that. This is me not taking from your budget. This is me not taking from your projects. This is me not taking anything from what we're doing in Knox County. This is me adding to the pot to fix my problem, but in the retrospect of everything, it's going to fix the state of Tennessee's problem that we have. So, with the combined efforts of this and other procedures, we'll be able to make it up. I pray and I hope so. I believe that these people that are elderly, that are already low income, they definitely deserve it. But more than anything, I believe the veterans that fought for our freedoms definitely deserve it. So I hope that makes it a little more clear what this is. This is a resolution asking you guys to support my efforts to the General Assembly, the 114th General Assembly. Whether I am successful or not, I'm willing to go up and fight for what I feel like not what I feel like is right. It's really what our constituents in Knox County feels like is right. It's not me, it's them. It's all them. They're the real heroes in all this.
Commissioner Lee. Okay. Commissioner Russell?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair. So out of $500,000, if we were to be successful, about how much would that be per person or per constituent that is needing the help? And will all of this money be going directly for tax relief
Yes.
rather than for additional administration or anything like that?
Thank you, Commissioner Russell. That's a great question. The answer is yes. It will be earmarked just for tax relief and disabled veterans. Whenever we get the funding back, hopefully from collections through the delinquencies, it'll get us from $89 back to the $120 that they used to have through elderly tax relief. It'll also get us from $487 back to $680 if you're a veteran or a widow of a veteran, or if your spouse has been killed in a service-related injury or it could happen here or on foreign soil. It'll get us back to that.
Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to be added to that resolution as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Reading my screen.
Trustee Weeks, I appreciate you spearheading this, because as we've been to the County Commissioner Association, and met with commissioners across the county, well, I dare say that in Knox County, we do have a lot of constituency services that are available to our residents, disabled veterans and elderly and low income alike. But there are counties out there, and after speaking with you, you said this would be a statewide benefit, and there are counties and residents in other counties who are not as fortunate as we are to have the service available. So, and when you mentioned the first come, first serve, so either you get some and all of it, or you get nothing. When you're talking about low income and fixed income and elderly, and that's not something you can plan for. If you miss the deadline and you were the one that they just ran out and you're the next one in line, that's not something you can plan for. So that's certainly a scenario that I personally would like to see us avoid. So I appreciate you spearheading this, and if you don't mind, I would like to be added to this as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'd appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rawls?
I'd like to be added as well.
Okay. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Trustee Biggs, if the program is fully funded by the state and we do this at the same time, and there is a surplus of funds that are not being requested, do it go back into the general fund each year and reset?
So if the state does fully fund this project, we're still shy of the numbers that I quoted earlier. This is strictly to get us back to where we were last year. Starting in 2020, the numbers were a little higher. So what would happen is the amount that we get back from the state after we get the ratio in would just increase, and the numbers would still be distributed by the algorithm of the state of Tennessee.
But does it reset every year? So let's say if there is money that's unallocated because people didn't apply for it, does that go back into the general coffer and the next year, resets?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Seeing no other question, Commissioner Hill?
Thank you. I'd like to be added to this also. I guess I'm a little surprised, Trustee Biggs, that this takes action from the General Assembly. Are we not allowed collectively as a commission and as a county to impose administrative fees on certain things?
No, ma'am. Unfortunately, no. Under the TCA code, we're unable to impose additional fees on delinquent taxes. It has to be placed by the state of Tennessee.
Any type of fee then? Any type of fee could not, it has to, it
Through the
has to be.
trustee's office, yeah, it's
Okay.
all state driven. Unfortunately, I couldn't just place an administrative fee on specific things. It would have to come from the General Assembly to be amended to be able to place
Okay.
any percentage of fee.
Thank
Good
you.
question.
Thank you for that clarification.
Commissioner Russell?
I would also like to be added.
Okay, so I'm assuming full commission? Perfect. I would like to say Trustee Biggs and his staff really, really do a good job with this program. I met with him a couple of weeks ago and told him, what they do is they go out, in case anybody doesn't know, they go out into the community to the senior centers, and his team is there to sign people up. And a lot of times you've got to think we're dealing with elderly and disabled, and so it's hard sometimes with computers and all of that kind of stuff. And so your team really is really good about doing that. And it's great for commissioners if you'll check with Trustee Biggs, and he'll let you know when he's going to be in your district. So you can let your people know that might qualify to go by the senior center and do that. So I know a lot of people in my district over the last 2 years have benefited from this. And so it's just something good to know that we've got this program for our elderly and our disabled and our veterans. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
And
Madam
I appreciate
Chair.
you being here.
Thank you all for signing on. It means a lot to me. I'll let you know after session if I was successful or if I went down in flames.
If you need the cavalry, just let us know.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any other discussion at the optional agenda review? Seeing none, this is adjourned.